This is the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and hitting subscribe on your friend's phone without them knowing. Coming to you from the lucky 4th floor at the Kitchen Studios in downtown Raleigh. This episode is sponsored in part by Spot On, tech that helps your business grow. Request a demo at spoton.com. And Joe Van Gogh Coffee, serving the community from seed to cup. And now, exhausted from their 1-hour work week, it's Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss, and I hope your ears are perked and ready because we are diving into the deep end of the pool. That's right. All you restaurateurs, all you workers, you bartenders, sommeliers, servers, whatever you may be in this industry, the hot button issue, staffing. And to help us dive deep into that is a man coming up from Charleston, South Carolina. We're keeping it in the Carolinas. The founder of Gigpro, former chef, and now Gigpro founder, Ben Ellsworth.
What's up? Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming.
You know, I know you're a chef because I could see your arms and they are covered in tattoos. So, like, you got your card right there.
Yeah, it's a good investment. It's the only thing you can die with.
Like investment, you mean the stickers you bought on to put those on?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
You got it.
No, so we'll talk about Gigpro because this is exciting what you have going on there. But I want to know, so you've been a chef and you're coming from Charleston, which is kind of like, at least in the South, if not the whole nation, kind of like the birthplace of restaurants and food and where everything is happening. So let's walk back a little bit. Where are you from originally?
Augusta, Georgia. So that's where I went to school. I was an Army brat, so I moved around quite a bit. But Augusta's, where's the first place you smoke pot? So that was home.
I mean, first of all, very apropos to have a Georgian on today, the day after. I don't know if you're a college football fan.
Dogs.
Go Dogs. Congratulations to the Dogs. And I know Gina, I texted her last night. She didn't answer me. I wished her good luck, and I think that was the reason that they won. Gina Stevens, of course, editor of Raleigh Magazine, or
Owner of Raleigh
Magazine.
Yeah, I texted her once. The interception at the very end kind of solidified the game because as a Raider fan, people were giving me congratulations in like the top of the 4th quarter. I'm like, stop. This game is not over. They're going to fuck it up somehow. And they almost did.
Yeah.
But they won that game.
Yeah.
So whenever this episode's going to come out this week. So in anticipation of these Las Vegas Raiders going against those Cincinnati Bengals.
Don't wish Max any congratulations until 0 are on the clock.
Yes.
Okay.
And we've got a W in the stat sheet.
But also, going back to Augusta, I mean, have you been to Augusta National? Have you ever cooked on those grounds?
No, most people from Augusta got the hell out of town.
There? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's like being a native Los Angelino. Like, it's not sexy to grow up in LA and you're like, hey, celebrities are annoying. It's the traffic sucks. And, it's like if you move to LA, as I did, it's like, this place is awesome. But my wife, who's from there, she's like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, I don't know much about Augusta besides the Masters being there.
That's about it. Yeah,
Okay.
It's the river is the only thing to do there, or blue collar town. Lots of.
So you never cooked there. You got the hell out and.
I did cook there. That was kind of like the only. Yeah, I worked for a comedy house theater, so we had a fry side and a grill side. I worked the fry. The lobby would fill up 280 people if it was a sold out show. They'd sit everybody at once, and that ticket machine would go off, and it wouldn't stop.
Well, and I know what the menu looks like at a comedy club when it comes to food, and so the fry guy was busy as fuck.
Depending on the comedian, yeah, I could definitely get crushed.
Well, it's just like it's all mozzarella sticks and like everything to dip into ranch. That's usually what you have at a comedy club. So
100%. If it wasn't like sitting everybody at once and just getting that, initial adrenaline rush of every, order going through at once, it probably would have sucked. But, that and the comedians, and it was fun. It was a party,
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you found yourself, when did you find yourself in Charleston? How'd that transition happen?
I came home from work one night, and I had like 5 police officers in my apartment. And at about 2:00 in the morning, the chief of police of Richmond County was like, "You need to get out of Augusta."
Whoa.
Care to elaborate?
Yeah. Are you allowed to at this time?
Not only was I working at the Comedy House, but I was running like a little florist pharmaceutical shop out of my apartment as well. I was 19. I called my mom. I was like, I think I want to leave Augusta. And she was like, what do you want to do? And the only thing that I was doing that was kind of legitimate was my Comedy House theater job. Yeah. And I was like, I really like cooking. And she called me back the next day, and she was like, there's a college down in Charleston. You can. And I was like, man, you can go to school to do this for a career? Like, party for a career. And so I went down to Johnson & Wales, and that was kind of like my introduction to Charleston.
So this isn't a show about your legal history, but I have to ask, how is it that the chief of police didn't arrest you and just said you need to leave town? Like, if you leave, we're going to forget about this.
I guess like the best, like if a florist harvested all the flowers, all you really have left is leaves. So I was kind of in that position.
I got you. Okay.
You know what I will say about florists? They are some of the best entrepreneurs that I've ever met. And a lot of people that were once florists have gone on to do like crazy things. And I'm not being facetious. It's like, it's that go-getter mentality. Like, I got to earn a buck. There are a bunch of people that like to buy flowers. I bet I could probably sell these flowers to these people. I just got to get access to it and figure this thing out. So it does kind of come full circle in that. And I'm cutting ahead a little bit, but we mentioned you're the founder of Gigpro.
Yeah.
Which is
strangely enough, like being in the circle of like startups and entrepreneurships, I've met a few other florists. From the past. So your assumption's correct.
I mean, this is just telling me that the whole premise of Breaking Bad was incorrect. Like, why the hell did they get a car wash? They should have opened a floral shop.
Right. Well, that was a different type of. That wasn't a flower that they were making.
Well, that's true.
It was a glass company.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, but okay, I like this. This shows that like, not everything comes from nice shiny polish, right? Like the things you find your path in some of the most unusual ways. I mean, Lord knows, like I've been in this food and beverage industry since I was 18, and I actually got hired to be a bartender on my 21st birthday, which I lied to the guy and said I was like 23 and that my brother ran a catering company and I'd been bartending for years. And somehow he believed it. But it's like getting hired into a restaurant business is a lot of just hubris and who you think you want to be rather than who you actually are. And for some reason too, like just getting that like title as bartender was so important to a 21-year-old. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to be a bartender. Like that's cool. That's a job. I was always front of the house. That's got to be similar in the back of the house, right? Like you're a line cook, but maybe you want to be that sous chef, or you want to be the chef or the kitchen manager. Like,
yeah, I mean, a lot of people say like, my grandmother was a great cook, and like that's what I wanted to do, or some like influence in their life. And for me, it was just like I was kind of lost. I didn't really have any direction. I didn't know what I was going to do. I found myself in a kitchen, and like.
And you enjoyed it.
It was one of the first spots that like I came in for the party, Yeah. I mean, it was a band of pirates. It was the first place like I felt like accepted. Mm-hmm. It's a counterculture. It's an underbelly. Like you got to be kind of weird to like put your life aside for other people. And that wasn't the direction I was going in the beginning, but it was a blast. And then going through Johnson & Wales, there was just a couple of chefs that I had in those classes that I had never seen like somebody be that passionate about like chicken stock, you know? It's just like, it's broth, dude, you know? But I mean, he would literally get upset and like shake me and be like, here's why it's so important. And that stuff, you know, for someone like lack of direction, a little lost, not really passionate about anything, like it started rubbing off on me. And then, you know, I couldn't find a job forever.
After culinary school, you're saying?
During culinary school, I mean, Charleston's not cheap, you know. It wasn't cheap back in 1998. It's not cheap now, but the only thing I could put on my resume was this shitty comedy house, you know, fry cook, and then and then stocks and sauces, American regional cuisine. And it just wasn't enough. It took me 8 months. I also had a mohawk. So that probably wasn't a good selling point.
I was going to say, you alluded to the counterculture thing. You alluded to being involved in a punk band. So that kind of all falls suit into the same.
Yeah, and Charleston definitely wasn't as like tattooed as Augusta. But, you know, it took me a really long time to get a job. And I landed my first job, and I did really well. I mean, I think someone that's like, I was easy to please. Like, you know, I needed a mentor. I needed guidance. These chefs that I worked for, like, I was starting to feel the passion. I was understanding, like, oh, you know, what we're doing here is kind of priceless. Like, you know, I had a chef, Fred Nouvelle, at 39 Rue de Jean. He was, you know, he's like, you don't get it. Like, what we're doing here is creating, like, memories for people.
Yeah.
You know, they're never going to forget this stuff. And I understood like the magnitude of what was going on in hospitality. And it, you know, I felt it to my core. I didn't come in like passionate about food, but I found it.
Yeah.
You know, and
it sounds like, just to like, I guess, dig even deeper into who you are, it sounds like that you said easy to please, meaning you were easy to please, not you easily pleased others.
I was easy to please, and I was easy to please others as well.
You were anxious to make a way, but like, so I'm just.
If my chef was yelling at me, telling me to like make it happen, work hard, like I was all over it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, no one had ever, you know, barked orders at me or gave me a deadline or a timeline or said like, hurry up, you know?
Yeah.
Time to clean. Like all of these things were like brand new concepts, but they were, you know, I still think a lot of it is great rules to live by just on a personal level. But I mean, it was at that time in my life, at that age, like it was the structure that I really needed. And I loved it.
Sounds to me like you might be a fan of Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Like, that's the culture, though, right? Like, he lived that rock star lifestyle, but was so passionate about food. Like, that was his instrument. And he just connects with people that have been in this industry for those reasons. It's like, he's still his own person, still kind of did it his own way, but he still also had, like, the customer and, like, the flavor and, like, the art of doing it as his primary goal, which I thought was really cool. Like he mixed this badass attitude with also just like, I mean, doing the work.
That was like, you know, for my generation, like of my age group, I mean, that was the thing.
He's the
guy. You read Kitchen Confidentials and you were like, I will saw my foot off for this industry. I mean, so many people talk about like, oh, the line cook's not, you know, passionate anymore. Like, are you handing them that book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because
seriously, man,
that book alone could create a resurgence. You know, I mean, it made you like proud of who you were, you know, in this industry.
It sounds to me like the restaurant industry, business, cooking in a kitchen filled a big void for you personally. Just to segue for a minute, I want to hear more about that, but someone else that is a friend of our show that is filling a big void out there is our friends at Spot On. I want to tell you guys, especially because you use technology in what you do, and they use technology to make everyone's life easier. A little bit more of a back of the house where you guys are front of the house, so there's a symbiotic relationship. But yeah, the people at Spot On, they are one-stop shopping for all your tech needs, whether it be to pay your payroll or you need new inventory systems, you're front of the house POS system, scheduling, everything. They do it, and it's technology that you can do from your phone at home. They make everything easy, one-stop shopping. So to get those services and make your life easier as a restaurant owner or a manager, urge your people to get Spot On. Call Tanya Manibo. She's a local rep. She's awesome, energetic. She will help you out. Her phone number is 858-213-7820. That's Tanya Manibo, 858-213-7820. Or shoot her an email, Tanya M. That's TANYAM at spoton.com. Because at Spot On, business is personal.
And I would just say, hey, Tanya, go take him out to a little coffee.
Oh.
That would be a fun way to go. Okay, obviously, I'm transitioning to talk about Joe Van Gogh coffee, but I am trying this blend right now for the first time, and obviously all of us will, because this just came in the mail from Joe Van Gogh, who graciously sponsors this podcast as our featured coffee sponsor. And this coffee is unlike any coffee that I've had in a really long time. What I'm talking about is Sidama Coffee Farmers Cooperative Union in Ethiopia. That is the actual bag of beans that we're drinking, but you get that like floral kind of sweet strawberry, almost like it's got like this bright berry flavor on it, which I am not used to. Are you getting any of that, Matt?
I have light, earthy. Did you say floral? I'm not getting so much of the berry, but definitely like a white flower, maybe like a blueberry sensation.
There you go. Well, you're in that family.
Berry.
Yeah, I'll let it pass. So, Joe Van Gogh's Ethiopia Sidamo is pressed using an age-old drying method, which requires extreme attention to detail during the process. The result of carefully allowing the fruit to ripen on the bean is a coffee with incredible fruity and floral tones. They roast the Ethiopia Sidamo just enough to preserve the natural flavors that this coffee embodies, with that sweet hint of berry and floral. So, Sidama Coffee Farmers Cooperative Union, the SCFCU, is an umbrella organization representing 47 cooperatives and 80,000 coffee producers spanning across the Sidama zone of southern Ethiopia. The union also contributes to the socioeconomic well-being of producers by providing access to credit and educational programs in these communities. So, to learn more information or just to simply pour yourself a nice hot cup of coffee, go visit joevangogh.com, check our links in the show notes, get yourself a little cup of Joe.
Little Joe. Cool.
All right.
So we were talking about filling a void in your personal life, the restaurant business. And I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit because maybe we'll work backwards, but let's get into Gigpro a little bit because your experience in this industry and the way you came up, it's funny, the difference Max talked about, how cool it was to get a bartender job, then you talking about listening to Anthony Bourdain, how it was in the late 90s and trying and doing anything you can to please your chef. Now it feels like to me, and I'm sure you're going to have, it's like the workers, the employees have all the leverage. Because like now, if you want to be a bartender, please come and bartend for me. I need people to staff my restaurant.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that's where, I don't know, that's where the passion thing, that what you're just talking about, Ben, is something I haven't heard in a long time. And I don't know if it's generational or situational or any-ational, but I grew up in the restaurant industry where it was all about, you knew the cooks in the back of the kitchen. There were some guys that were just there for a paycheck, but there were a lot of people back there that were like on a path. They were like devoted. This was their life. Their goal was to open up their own little bistro someday, perhaps out there on Bay Street in Charleston or something, and like to be the next, Sean Brock or whomever it is. But then you've got like, even in the front of the house, you want to craft that bar, that cocktail, and know everything about the liquor and become maybe a sommelier, talking about, like the Raj Pars or the Andre Max of the world or the Matt Weisses of the world who are following that passion of wine. And it's like, it's a passion. And I do feel like that's something that we got to get back to. We got to get like that passion of wanting to work in this industry other than just because it pays our bills. But this Gigpro, I actually found out about Gigpro because I'm opening a restaurant or I'm opening a food hall. This is a way to connect people to getting a job and maybe hopefully finding that passion of being like, this is where I want to work. This is what I want to do. But the nice part, at least the way I looked at it, was I was like, oh, this is like a paid stage. This is like, you want to bring a chef in to see if they know, or a line cook to see how they move in the kitchen. And, do they know how to like say behind? Do they know how to walk around with a hot pot and not like dump it on someone's back? Do they know what they're doing? Well, come on in for a night. Let's check it out. the lousy part back in the day was you used to do that for free. And at the end of the night, the chef would be like, yeah, you don't know anything. Get out of here. Beat it. Or, cool, now I'll start paying you tomorrow. We'll cook you dinner tonight, and that'll be your pay. But what Gigpro, from what I've seen, is kind of like, hey, we need somebody in the kitchen today. We'll pay you for today, and we'll see if it makes sense. And maybe you come back and work tomorrow. Is that kind of in a way how you got this company together?
Yeah, I mean, at its core, it's kind of like, a legal stage. Right. But it's on both sides, so it empowers both sides. Both sides can see, like, if it's a good fit or not. I staged for a lot of great chefs, and I always left that stage going, I wonder if he's going to hire me. Mm-hmm. Times are different now. I came into Charleston on that, culinary school path, and then, moved my way up through the ranks, prep cook, line cook, sous chef, chef de cuisine, executive chef. I went through that path. I ended up running an Italian restaurant, scratch kitchen in 2009 is when I started hearing like the murmurings of like in Charleston labor shortage. I wasn't experiencing it myself, and like looking back on it in hindsight, like my owner there, like we paid really good money, in that market. We were kind of the first ones to have health insurance, which is a very foreign concept. And then within the kitchen itself, like we just had a really great family dynamic. Like everybody that showed up there, like wanted to be there that day. I was always looking for a Garmo guy, like Garmage. I would have that guy for 8 months and that was it. So
and then they would move up. Or they would get a sous chef position.
They always seemed to like leave. I don't know.
It was everybody wants a good Garmo guy, so they went to the next job that was going to pay a couple more bucks.
I mean, we had a gorgeous Italian marble open salad station with a Burkle slicer. I don't know. I would have spent my life out there and been completely happy, but I could never keep that person. But, I started hearing, when I'd go out or meet with other chefs, like, man, it's getting really tough to find people. I wasn't experiencing it. I stayed at Mercado until 2014. And by then, I'd heard a lot. Yeah. Like, where is everybody? But I had the same group of guys. In 2014, Charleston was doing this, like, it was just becoming hot. It was becoming the place to be, and my restaurant had kind of gotten institutionalized, and I moved up into the chef position there, and it was, how do I want to step out and try to work for somebody that'll let me do my own thing. Mercado had become institutionalized. So I stepped out and I started consulting. From 2014 to 2018, I opened up 8 restaurants, and I opened them up all understaffed. And I was like, ouch, I feel it for the first time. You open up a restaurant understaffed, like three months later, you're really understaffed because you lose like a third of your people. Opening up a restaurant's not for everybody.
Yeah.
So I started noticing, here it is. Here's what everybody's talking about. This sucks.
Yeah.
It started depleting like my passion for the industry. I was like, man, if I open up my own spot, I mean, that was the end goal for everybody. Your own place. I'll never have a day off. If it's this hard to find people. While I was consulting paid really well, but I could go 2 or 3 months without a gig. I had an extra room in my house that I started Airbnb out. That would keep me through, make ends meet. I launched a kitchen for a buddy of mine. It was opening night. It was the first time I'd ever agreed to a grand opening. But it was like he wanted a chef-driven dive bar menu. And I was like, dude, no problem. We got bands. We're going to have 1,000+ people there. We're going to get pummeled. And a dishwasher calls out. So I do what you always do in that situation. You look at your line and you say, we got to find somebody right now or we're screwed, Yeah. So everybody's sitting there scrolling on their phone. Nobody's producing. We're about to have the biggest night, opening night, and we're searching for somebody. And then my phone goes off. Someone's booked your Airbnb. And I was like, I wish he had booked to wash these fucking dishes. And then it was kaboom. Like,
that makes sense.
Why doesn't this exist? Like, because not only, like, right now, there's thousands of restaurants in Charleston that are sitting there going, who knows a guy, multiple times a week. And at the same time, there's tens of thousands of people that have the day off and need more money. So that was it.
Yeah, the light bulb went off.
Let's build it. You know?
And like, seriously, and we've got Elizabeth in here who's working with us. Like, when I was opening up Y Hill, the brewery just down the street from here, it was constantly the case. We're just like, we just need a dishwasher for tonight. Like, we don't always need 3 dishwashers, but tonight, for whatever reason, we're doing a special function. It's going to be exceptionally busy. We just need one person to come in and like dry things or stock shelves. Like, you don't have to know the whole culture of the system. We just need an extra warm body to move some things around. I wish I could just I said it out loud when we were there. I'm like, I wish there was just like an Uber or an Airbnb version for just staff. Like, can we just get someone to come in for the day? You guys did this. But like, because like the thing that I found was like one of the biggest barriers to entry was like, well, whose employee is that and who's the responsibility? Like, there becomes like liability and insurance and all that other stuff where it's like, well, yeah, it'd be nice, but I can't just bring my bartender's roommate who also works at another place for the day legally because like you gotta like 1099 them, and then you still gotta file paperwork, you gotta do all that stuff. So you found a way to kind of get around all that, or at least not get around it, but like use the rules, establish those rules, but then make them work for you, because a person using Gigpro is actually like an employee of Gigpro, right?
No, so they're 1099 workers.
Okay.
But every pro on the platform is covered with $1 million occupational accident insurance policy. They pay 38 cents an hour for it. 38 cents an hour means if you chop your finger off, 38 cents, we'll get it put back on. But for businesses, like the reason we could never do the stage, I mean, you bring the person in, you throw them in the shit, and then you hope to God that they don't chop that finger off because they're not employed by me yet, you know? I don't know how many situations like that happen, but I'm sure it's a lot, and there might be some line cooks that were going into stage that own restaurants now.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
I've been around that situation.
Yeah.
People got like, and in the end, it's just like, here's some cash. Here's a bottle of wine for your troubles.
Yeah.
Like the chefs are just kind of.
Here's
doing
a nice
things.
lake over here, just looking. You know?
Oh, jeez. We did that. So.
But yeah, I mean, it's you know, that was early 2019. You know, how do we get these two groups of people together? You know, because it's out there and it's real, and so. I'm a chef. I don't know the hell I'm doing. I don't know anything about tech. I just know I need Airbnb for restaurants. You know, I went out, got a bunch of quotes on a mobile app, and I was like, that's not going to happen. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then, I found a guy that could build me a website. So we built this little clunky website, and then we tied it to this text messaging service, and it worked. You know, we launched it in November of 2019. We had Hall's Chop House and restaurant group down in Charleston, and then 2 catering companies. They used it for November and December, and they loved it. You know, in January, we built them out a couple of features, and then relaunched it right before Valentine's Day 2020.
Perfect.
Hey, anybody in Charleston can sign up, get on the app, find these people. We had a couple thousand people that had downloaded the app. It was working, and it was crazy. You know,
and this is in the before times.
This is in the before times,
right?
But
how did the word get out at that point? Was it just these two these two places, these two restaurants that said?
I was posting on social media. We have a hospitality group down there called Chucktown F&B Collective. It's got 20.
I'm in it.
1,000 people parked in it.
How does this guy from Raleigh? I'm in it though. It's cool. Yeah.
And so like I just started hammering it in there. You know, like hey man, there's money on the board, and like they're desperate. Yeah, I need a dishwasher tonight. I'm gonna pay a little extra to get someone tonight because the cost associated with not having this guy, my chef trapped on dish, or my GM trapped on dish, is way more costly than paying someone a couple extra bucks an hour. So, of course people signed up. I mean, there's a huge labor shortage at that time. in the before time.
times. Yeah.
And so I couldn't keep up. It was just me at that time. You know, I was customer support. I was marketing. I was the head sales guy. It sucked, you know, but it was so exciting that like it was being received so well. And then COVID hit. Mm-hmm. Kaboom. And we shut down like everybody else.
Yeah.
But I started looking at what was going on. Like 2.5 million people in the industry laid off. And then I started thinking like, how many people are coming back? Like, we're not going to retain everybody. Yeah. And I was kind of like, look, who knows how long the world's going to be asleep? They're going to need this everywhere. Let's rebuild. Let's get off this prototype and build something that can scale. And that's what we did. And we launched that in Charleston in November 2020. And it's just been kaboom.
Yeah. Because now the labor shortage is even more than it was pre-pandemic. And
it's catastrophic right now.
To find
well,
people
it's the biggest industry in America, right? Isn't it? Like, doesn't the food and beverage industry employ more employees typically than any other industry? I think, from what I understand, if not the most, it's up there. It's like one of the top ones. Yeah. And to just completely shut it down.
I mean, it's the seventh largest revenue driver like in the world. It's gargantuan. Yeah. You know, and I don't know if that's true anymore, but I mean, you know, the money's there. That's the big problem I see now. You know, people are closed on Sunday, Monday. They're closed on Monday, Tuesday. But you talk to them the rest of the week, our numbers are more than they were last year, the years before. So
that's the craziest thing. And I've had this, in my day job, I've had this conversation with a lot of general managers, restaurant owners, chefs, is that they're looking back now at 2021 numbers, and they're comparing it to 2019 numbers, and they're doing like 20 to 30% more revenue with 70% of the staff that they had, or 30% less staff that they had. So like somehow they're figuring it out, and I got to imagine things like Gigpro are helping them because they're able to bring in people on just a very
per day
basis and not having to do the whole thing of employ them full time and just fill in here and there. So it's pretty genius.
Yeah, there's definitely some businesses in Charleston that probably wouldn't be open like right now if it wasn't for us. I mean, we're sending a few hundred people to a couple locations a week.
Wow.
Well, so we're like 38 minutes in. I don't think we've really told our listeners like how this actually works. Like,
right.
How does Gigpro actually work? If you are a line cook or a front of the house like server, like an employee person, let's say.
Sure. I mean, for the pro, which is the workforce of the platform, it's easy. You go type in gigpro.com to the app store, download the app, you create a profile, picture, bio. You can upload your work history if you want. Once gigs are posted in your market by a business, you'll get a ping. Hey, there's new gigs in your market. You can see the location, the time, the money, short description on what they require at the business, and then if you're interested, you hit apply. Businesses, so we don't use algorithms to match computers with people. It's a marketplace. Businesses, once they posted the gig and people come in and apply, they can scroll through and look at the profiles and select who they want. So it's the Airbnb like Tinder mashup, But, it gives everybody kind of, that decision, that choice. Yeah. Once the business selects a candidate, the pro confirms, that's it. You go in, you work. At the end of the shift, they pay, they rate, and then the money's directly deposited into the pro's bank account
through the same app. You get paid as well.
Yeah, I think like the nuts and bolts are like the restaurant themselves pays a percentage fee to Gigpro. That's how Gigpro stays in business. But the employee themselves doesn't. Only that 39 cents an hour you're talking about for insurance. But they don't they get basically all the cash that the job was.
I mean, they're paying 38 cents an hour, round that up to 40. If someone paid out a $100 gig, 4 hours, $1.60 would come out of that gig to keep you safe on the job. For the businesses, I mean, I have no problem saying the fees.
Yeah.
Our fees are 18%, and the reason I don't have a problem with that is find a competitor that's less than that. I mean, most staffing agencies historically is 35 to 45% markup, and same thing with we got competitors. I mean, there's a massive problem here. The thing is that like we're all mostly industry folk.
Right.
I mean, we don't want. I think during COVID, like there was this desperation. A lot of us got food sitting in the walk-in. It's got a 3-day shelf life on it. Yeah. How do we get it the hell out of here? Like nobody can eat in house, and like the industry's so resilient and so creative, and it was like make them come to us.
Yeah,
and they did. And like I was talking to businesses that had a line of cars around the corner, and people were going out to support their local restaurant. And then we have these apps come in. Oh, there's a big problem here, and let's get our piece. And they came in with these unsustainable fees. They shut a lot of places down. I don't think they didn't market it in a way that like, hey, you're no longer supporting your local restaurant. You're putting a nail in their coffin.
Yeah.
So I think tech solutions might have that disdain to it. But, we're a bunch of crazy ass restaurant people. We bootstrapped this thing. We kept our fees low, and we can keep them low. So 18%. If it's $100 gig, you paid out $18. That means
that's
someone shows up, they work the job. There's no sign up fee. There's no subscription models. You only pay if it works. I mean, you pay 18%. You have zero HR lift, and then like the cherry is. No one's beholden to us. There's no contract to break. If we connect you with somebody and you like that guy and he likes you, hire him. We don't get in the way of that. I don't want to get in the way of, being able to put someone in a better financial position, a better culture. Maybe he gets, he's got a family and he can get healthcare benefits at this place. I don't want to stand in the way of that. We're trying to like attract people back to the industry.
Yeah.
But it could be somebody that just has a full-time job, can't get enough shifts, and is like, I got a Thursday night that I'm open and I want to make some extra cash. So
yeah, who the hell wants to work 2 jobs?
Yeah.
To make ends meet. Like,
yeah.
You don't get time and a half for the extra 20 hours that you're pulling to keep the lights on. Down in Charleston, I mean, we have off-duty cops, teachers, military, firefighters, man, you name it. Like, the great thing is, like, right now, we're so stressed for staff, 70% of every adult in America has worked in this industry at some point in time. They might not, want to pick up an extra schedule because they're doing something else, but like, get on the app, like restaurants, hospitality in general needs help. Like, get in there. They need you. Like, they might just need you to roll silverware and polish glasses for the night, but they're down a server and they don't want to worry about side work. They want to worry about customer service. So,
and think about the cool factor. I mean, like, people enjoy just working in restaurants, and like maybe you just want to pick up a side gig, like just even for your own social network. You're like, I just want to get out. I want to do something on a Friday night. And just
I think it's funny because Airbnb inspired it, but now as we're getting down into it, it's almost more like the Uber or Lyft model, where if you're a worker and instead of going to drive a car where there's a lot of risk there, and you're inviting strangers into your car and the insurance, the whole thing that you mentioned, you just go pick up a shift that's something that you're already doing, whether that be bartending or serving or garde manger or whatever, and you could make your extra cash there.
Yeah, and you don't have to drive your car in the ground.
And that too, you don't have to put extra miles on your car.
You don't get 30% taken out of your fare.
That's right.
Like, if I'm drunk on the corner at 2 a.m., I need the ride. He should be paying the 30%, not the driver.
Yeah.
So which I think that's a big reason, why they're in so much trouble right now. But like, you don't put the onus on the person that's in demand. Right. And, that's kind of, there's a whole lot of reasons like why what's going on is going on. But,
well, I did want to ask you, and I know we're getting short on time, but I guess for my own information, and maybe other people are wondering, you marked a very specific time, especially as it relates to Charleston, about when the labor shortage happened. That was 2009. So can you speak to any of the reasons why you think that began there?
I think around that time, like a little before that, like becoming a chef, being in the hospitality industry, it was kind of like the hot thing to do. Mm-hmm. We had this tidal wave. I'd mentioned that restaurant, 39 Rue de Jean. Like, I mean, we were throwing applications in the trash. We had people like lined up at the door because we're a hot spot in town. It's not the case anymore. So I think that there was a lot of like demand to like want to be in the industry at that time. And then a lot of people came into the industry and they're like, this sucks.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it ad nauseum that the F&B industry needed to evolve. It needed to change. I mean, I think that as fun and like you even said, it was kind of like being a part of the party. The party's got to end at some point, and I think the party ended in 2019, going into 2020, when I think the pandemic helped push this idea forward because everyone had a moment to take a break and kind of reevaluate their lives and like what's next with them. Like we've said on the show, a lot of people that were in the service industry are gone forever. They did get a job working for Uber or working for Amazon, or they just were like
selling houses.
Yeah. Or they're like, man, I got a degree and I never applied myself into what I got my degree for, but now I've got all this time to kind of think about it. Maybe I'll get that job in design that I always wanted to do. So like they left because the industry was kind of, shitty to them. Like you either were making $213 as a server and sharing tips with a bunch of people that weren't pulling their weight. If you're in a pool house and you've got like shitty employees that aren't doing their best job, or you're a line cook that's like, hey man, dishwasher called out, so I need you to pull a double today. And it wasn't like a request, it was a demand, or it's your job type of mentality. And so everyone just kind of felt beholden to this $11 an hour job. And you're like, this sucks. Why do I live in this space? And so we had to figure out a way, like for one, what makes you want to come to work every day? Pay is obviously probably the primary goal, but also I think it's the respect, the mutual respect, the incentive of just being in an environment that you want to be around. I mean, like going back to what you said, it was kind of like being a part of the party. Well, there is a fun aspect of being in the restaurant industry. I mean, hell, we were talking about Tanya Fritch's Just the Tip book, right? Like she kind of like complained about the industry a lot, but then in the end, the last final chapter, she's like, as much as I bitch about this industry, it's what I love the most. It's what I wake up in the morning and I'm excited to go back in and clock in and bartend all night and be with my friends. And there is a party in front of me. And at the end, there's this great social hour. And I made a bunch of cash tonight. It's like there's a cool reward about being in this space. But we have to be cognizant of the humans that live inside of it and be respectful to those people more so than we've ever done before. And I do think that like through this baby step mentality where it's like Gigpro can get a person to come in for one day and it's like, this is welcome to my house. Do I keep a fair home here? And they can see it and be like, okay, this is cool. I like this. Or these guys are idiots. Like this is a horrible place to be. Yeah. And that goes back to the rating system too, right? So you can rate your experience there and you can also be rated as the employee just like an Uber ride or so. And that helps to kind of keep everybody on their P's and Q's. Mind their P's and Q's, right? Like
the rating system definitely polices the software. I mean, if you time travel back to like when I was at Mercado.
And just to clarify, you're talking about Mercado in Charleston because there's Pizzeria Mercado here from the Barkers. Not to be confused.
So, I mean, I was hearing the murmurings of the labor shortage, but I wasn't feeling it, and it's because we had an owner that paid a competitive rate. He incentivized, and we had a family dynamic within the building. Mm-hmm. I don't like to come across as like bashy against the industry, but I mean, personal experience, I was in it for a quarter of a century. The dialogue within the industry, I lucked out a bunch and worked for great people. But back when that labor shortage was starting to happen, like 20% of the industry said, okay, something's got to change. Mm-hmm. We need to pay better. We need to incentivize and give securities, and we need to like change this dialogue of like it's a toxic work environment, and we need to like really think about the culture within our establishments. But 80% of the industry kept operating the same way.
Right.
So when people are coming into the industry, if you have a labor shortage, you are failing to attract a workforce. If you're attracting a workforce, it should be infinitely scalable. Mm-hmm. But when you're not attracting, because if 80% of the industry historically pays low wages, doesn't incentivize or give security, and has a toxic work environment, then there's a good chance I never even make it around to the 20%. So why the hell am I even going to look over there for work?
Right.
Voila. Here we are. So a big mission of, we want to connect the right people with the right people because it's the right thing to do. And if we can get those people, empower a workforce that's never had the ability to go in and say, what do I think about this place? Does it work for me? I never even had that concept.
Yeah.
If we can get them connected with the ones that are doing it right, then we'll fortify their ranks. We'll allow them to scale that model, to scale that culture, and maybe at some point we can shift and change the dialogue.
Yeah.
But if people think it's going to return to normal, it's not. It's going to get so much worse. And like right now, it's time to do something outside the box, do something different, change the dialogue, or it's going to persist. It will.
Yeah.
I think the 25 years that I spent in the industry, that's not a sales pitch for Gigpro.
Yeah.
That's just Chef Ben talking. But what I do know is that what we are doing in the markets that we've launched and been successful in, like we're making huge change. This year we're slated to like cover 1 million labor hours. Like that's massive.
Oh, wow.
The average rate on the platform right now across all markets is just above $19 an hour.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It's amazing.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to delve into those numbers. I'm sure they're readily available. But look into what a Uber driver or Lyft driver makes in an hour, especially when you factor in the miles they're putting on their car, etc.
The miles, the gas. It's not that.
It's not that.
Yeah.
So, and the good money is the idea of like, the percentage that gets taken out of your check because you're a part of that system, as opposed to in this scenario, you're paying for insurance, which is like everybody pays for insurance, and whether you have a full-time job or not. And this is a very minuscule amount of money you're paying for the insurance. So it's almost not even part of the conversation.
Yeah.
So where are you now? Now, I know you're based in Charleston. You're up here now in the Triangle, so I assume you're available in the Triangle?
Yeah. We're launching as we speak.
As we speak, today. So it sounds a little sales pitchy, but this makes sense because I know I'm opening up Crafton. It's a food hall. We've got a bunch of vendors that are not my company, but they're their companies, and they're going to have their own line cooks and their own people. And then I'm going to have servers and baristas and bartenders and cleaning crew, dishwashers. So I'm going to need people in general. So for that purpose, I could put up as the owner of the business, like, these are all the jobs I need, and I can be specialized, right? Like if I need someone that actually knows how to make a latte, then I can put I need a barista, and I'm going to pay, for the sake of argument, $100 for the day for these amount of hours or something.
Yeah.
For 5 hours, it's that, and so then someone can come in and say, okay, I can do that. I know how to do this. And I'll know because I can see on the resume that they have years of experience working at a coffee shop or something like that.
Yeah.
In that scenario. I'm being serious. I actually need baristas.
I mean,
hear what I'm saying, folks?
We're going through like you said, the busiest number year, more understaffed than we've ever been.
Yeah.
Like, how do we like preserve the core? Like that's the mission now. You know, our guys are stretched thin. They just went through the busiest holiday probably ever, you know?
Yeah. Well, and speak to this, like, I mean, I know I, as an employer, I might have shifts that I need to work, but I can't let my regular staff go into overtime because now I'm paying them time and a half. And as much as I love those employees, I can't pay if I'm paying them $15 an hour. You know, I can't pay them $22 an hour to do this job. That's just going to put me in the poorhouse as a company. So I could pick up somebody that could pull those extra shifts. That's not going to go into the overtime labor shortage because it's a totally different employee.
Yeah.
So that's going to be helpful in that regard. And also, I mean, as a former bartender, I knew too, like, oh, I'd love to pick up this shift, but my boss is not going to let me do it because I'll go into time and a half. But I could go to the restaurant down the street and go pull a shift there. And hell, their bartenders can go pull a shift where I'm at. I mean, why not? It almost creates the culture again.
Yeah. I mean, we've got, you know, businesses that bring in a couple of people to close down the line at night because they want to get their staff a break. You know, I mean, like,
that's a cool idea.
Who's going to clean your kitchen better than a line cook?
Yeah.
Cleaning crews are great, but they're super expensive and they just don't do that good of a job. And like, I mean, it's what we do.
You still pouring Dr. Pepper on the flat top, on the plancha to get those stains out?
No, I always use like a mixture of lime juice and water, but whatever.
Lime juice is expensive, bro. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the bartender gets pissed at you because you're using their lime juice.
I just juiced that.
But
that's cool. Okay, so getting back into the distribution, you're launching into the Triangle. So, and in North Carolina in general, just because of our audience, they're all over the state of North Carolina. Are there other spots? Like, are you in Asheville yet? Are you in the coast?
Asheville, Charlotte, and the Triangle.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This makes sense. We should be preaching the gospel of Gigpro. We talk about this all the time about just trying to find a gig or like an employer just trying to find an employee.
Yeah.
Could we even just do like a clickable link or so that listeners of our show could find a way to get in on that? Like we could do like a link ourselves. So maybe we could set that up. We'll put it in our show notes. We'll go from there.
Yeah, we can set you up a link, go.gigpro.com/NCFB. And anybody that sets up an account through that link to show our support, we'll give them their first gig free. How about that?
Oh,
look at
you
that.
heard here.
Right on the moment. Look at that. I like a guy, like a founder of a business. He can just do things right on the moment.
You don't have to talk to the board. Doesn't have to talk to the,
I might hear about that later.
Edit. No.
You will hear about that later. But I'm also wondering if they could staff, say, a wine shop. Is short staff. So, like, our friends at the Triangle Wine Company might need somebody because their person called out sick or they're running a lot of hours or
need
overtime.
A guy to pull the taps in
need
the
a guy
back.
to pull the taps in the back.
Or a gal.
Or deliver your wine curbside or even deliver your wine because Triangle Wine Company does all those things. They are a great friend of ours as well. They have 4 locations, one in Southern Pines out there. They have one in Cary, one in my neck of the woods, Holly Springs, and of course their new shop in the New Bedford community in North Raleigh. Yeah. So for all your wine and vermouth and cocktail mixers needs, or if you just want to grab a great beer at the tap room, check out Triangle Wine Company. You can go to trianglewineco.com. Don't forget to use the NCFB promo code, and they'll give you a nice little discount.
Yeah, and connecting South Carolina to North Carolina, we also have Proof Alcohol Ice Cream.
It's like the bridge.
Yeah, coming from Columbia, South Carolina, which is fantastic. And Jennifer Randall, genius idea too. She's like, I love ice cream. I love alcohol. Let's put it together in one little container. 7% alcohol ABV in every pint. You yourself, Ben, will go home with a little bit of ice cream. You've probably seen those Proof Alcohol ice cream freezers all over South Carolina because they're there both in Harris Teeter's or Lowe's shopping centers, Total Wines, but even at the aforementioned Triangle Wine Company. See the little synergy there? We got it all together. So get flavors like coconut rum, bourbon caramel, strawberry moonshine. Yeah, just think differently about dessert. Go to proofalcoholicecream.com and check the link in our show notes to find out more information.
Yeah. So this is great. Like Proof Alcohol Ice Cream, creating a bridge between ice cream and liquor. You guys have created this bridge between the shortage of restaurant workers and the businesses who need them. So amazing job. Very cool stuff. Thank you for coming in today. And
hey, Matt. Dry January, still going. Still going strong.
Still going strong.
Sorry, Proof Alcohol Ice Cream. I have not had any of your wares at this very moment.
No wonder why our refrigerator is stocked now, because you haven't been taking it home with you for dry January.
Yeah. No, it's good. Clear head.
Kudos to you.
Focused.
Yeah,
just making it all happen.
Quitter. I didn't say that. But no, if you're enjoying a dry January, well then congratulations to you, and I hope it's going well for you. As I posted the other day, my kind of dry January is dry Riesling January. You know,
yes, a little Alsatian sounds good too. Yeah.
But seriously, for all you out there that are looking to pick up some extra work, or you're a restaurant or a coffee shop or whatever type of culinary business out there, and you think you might need some extra staffing, well, check out Gigpro.com. And guess what? Because of that, your guests will eat and drink very merrily.
Thanks for listening to the NC F&B podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes, and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.